Okay, some Conor McGregor news just dropped, but I have to predict these fights first. So in this video, I'm going to predict UFC 318, the main card only. The prelims are pretty good, actually. There's some sneaky bangers like the headliner of the prelims, Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips. That's a pretty sick fight. But I'm going to be predicting the slop that is the main card of UFC 318. It's not a good main card. I made a video about this. It really sucks. It's not main card worthy. Most of the fights of this card are not main card worthy. It's just not worth it. But Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber is what's going to kick it off. And I'm going to predict Daniel Zellhuber to win by KO. Michael Johnson is a KO or be KO'd fighter. He's been like that his entire career. He has a ton of sneaky good wins. Not even sneaky good. He has a ton of really good wins. He beat Poirier. He's beaten like a lot of really good fighters and then he'll lose to like the worst fighter you've ever seen. He's coming off of a knockout win, which he got a devastating knockout in that fight. I forget the guy, but the guy is he's not that good. So it's hard to say. But Michael Johnson knocked him out cold. Daniel Zellhuber is coming off a loss against Esteban Ribovic, which was a war at the Sphere. That took a big toll on Daniel Zellhuber. I will say that was a fucking battle. That Daniel Zellhuber got the short end of the stick in. Esteban beat his ass. It was very back and forth, though. But Daniel took a lot of damage. But if Michael Johnson's taken anything in his career, it's a lot of fucking damage. And his chin is garbage. And Daniel Zellhuber is a lot lengthier. He's a lot taller. He's a lot crispier on the feet. Michael Johnson has a ton of power, and he has super sick moments. He's just been chinned too many times. He's too old. Daniel Zellhuber is young. He's before his prime, which isn't a bad thing. He's Mexican, so he has a great chin. I think he's going to piece apart Michael Johnson and shin him. I think this is a weird mismatch. It's a matchup I would have never made. It doesn't make any sense. I would have done Michael Johnson versus Bobby Green. But we're doing this for some reason because they want Daniel Zellhuber to get a sick knockout. I think that's why they're doing it. They tend to pander towards Mexicans. So if this goes to a decision, you know they're going to pick Daniel. I don't think it's going to. I think Daniel will find the shot against Michael Johnson. Michael's chin is shot, and I don't see Michael Johnson being able to knock out Daniel Zellhuber in this fight. So, I'm going to go with Daniel Zellhuber by knockout early, pretty early, first or second round. Next, Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. This one's a little bit trickier. Dan Ige is very good. He's very powerful. He gets into battles. He's coming off a win against Sean Woodson where he TKO'd him in a pretty early stoppage. Patricio Pitbull is making his second fight in the UFC. He lost his first fight against Yair Rodriguez by decision, where he got pretty much beat the fuck up for all 3 rounds. He didn't show me anything worthwhile in those 3 rounds, to be honest. I think he's too old. I think he's proven to not be UFC level. He might be Dan Ige level, to be honest. He's definitely not top of the chain UFC level. He might be Dan Ige level. But Patricio Pitbull's not going to knock out Dan Ige. If anybody's going to finish the other person, I think Ige's going to finish Patricio. I think Ige will be able to push a better pace for longer. I think he'll be able to weather a lot of anything really Patricio Pitbull has for him. And I think Dan Ige has way more damaging techniques on the feet, and he's no slouch in the grappling. I don't have any confidence in outside UFC forces that come into the UFC, like a Bellator fighter or a PFL fighter, unless they're like prospects. Anybody that's like super established and like is a vet of Bellator, I don't trust to come into the UFC and do well. We've seen it too many times. We saw it with Patricio Pitbull. I think the trend's going to continue in his second fight, and I think Dan Ige is going to beat the shit out of him. Probably do a decision, though. I don't know if he's going to KO Patricio Pitbull, but either a third round TKO or a decision for Dan Ige. Just being able to do more for longer, basically. Next, Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez is the feature fight. Yeah, this card's not good at all, but Kevin Holland is pretty good. I will say, I've doubted Kevin Holland in the past. I tend to pick him, though. I tend to pick him whenever he fights, just because there's a lot that Kevin Holland does offer. He offers a lot of range, an indestructible chin, slick striking, and knockout power when it comes to unks and old motherfuckers. Daniel Rodriguez is that. He's an old motherfucker with a iffy chin. Daniel Rodriguez is very good at striking. He's not going to grapple with Kevin Holland, and you kind of need to grapple with Kevin Holland if you're going to beat him. If you're not Stephen Wonderboy Thompson or Jack Della Maddalena, people beat Kevin Holland. Daniel Rodriguez is not Jack Della Maddalena or Stephen Wonderboy Thompson on the feet. He's good on the feet. He's not that good. He's really old. I'm leaning Kevin Holland in this fight pretty clearly. I think he's going to finish Daniel Rodriguez. I think it'll be kind of quick. No, at this point in Kevin Holland's career, it probably won't be quick. I think he'll KO Daniel Rodriguez in the third round. I think Kevin Holland, he has really good striking on the back with his range. He's very good at keeping range, finding shots, and his most valuable asset is his chin is indestructible. And even if Daniel Rodriguez had power, which he doesn't, he wouldn't be able to chin Kevin Holland. Daniel Rodriguez is a slick striker against old motherfuckers. Like he's coming off a win against Ponzinibbio, an old man. And then Alex Morono was his last fight. He's coming off a win against another old man. Kevin Holland just beat Vicente Luque, who is an old man, but is also actually really good. Or was really good. Kevin Holland's a more efficient old man destroyer than Daniel Rodriguez is. And Daniel Rodriguez is an old man. So I'm going to go with Kevin Holland to win by outstriking Daniel Rodriguez on the feet for either all 3 rounds or chinning him in the third. That's just what I think is going to happen. I don't think Daniel Rodriguez has it at his age to beat Kevin Holland. Also, we've seen Daniel chinned before by Ian Gary. Kevin Holland has knockouts on his record. He's definitely not completely foreign to that. And he's staying insanely active. It didn't take a lot of damage in his last fight. And he has a really good Darce choke, which he's used many times, and I think he could get that against Daniel Rodriguez. If he rocks Daniel, I could see that working for him too, because I don't see Daniel being able to fend off submissions very well. He's never really had that in his game. So yeah, Kevin Holland I think is all around better, younger, more athletic. He's just better. He's a more well-rounded, efficient fighter than Daniel Rodriguez, and I think he's going to win. Maybe not. They probably have the same level of reliability, I would say, but Kevin Holland fights a fuck ton. He's solid, and I think he's going to win. I don't think that's a hot take either. Next, we have Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. So this fight is hard to predict, to be honest. It's not that hard. Paulo Costa has not looked good in his last few fights. I don't trust Paulo Costa anymore when it comes to fighting. How he used to, like a brawler. He used to go into fights and really throw down and be a problem for a lot of people. With his output and his endurance and his durability, he used to fucking and his physicality, he used to really be a presence in there and put it on people. And nowadays, he doesn't really do that. His fight against Sean Strickland and Whitaker, I think Whitaker, right? Yeah. They just didn't show me that he wants to be really, really good in there. Like, he doesn't want to move forward. Ever since the Izzy loss, for whatever reason, he's been hesitant a lot of the time. I was expecting Paulo Costa to bum rush Sean Strickland and actually try to land some shots and really make it a fight. He never did that. He was okay with getting teeped and jabbed for all goddamn, for all of the rounds. And it's just not a good look going in there against Roman Kopylov, who is a very efficient striker and a pretty good grappler. Roman Kopylov showed a lot of grappling skill in his last fight, and I think he could utilize that against Paulo Costa, who has shown to not have the same level of endurance that he has in the past or physicality at all. Roman Kopylov's a big guy for middleweight. He's super efficient at striking. He has a lot of knockouts. He has a wicked head kick. He's good at striking. And I think he's going to be able to put a pressure on Paulo Costa and start to break him as this fight goes on. Paulo Costa's inconsistency, his pulling out of every single fight he's ever been in his life, his lack of... He's just not... It doesn't feel like he's committed to the sport. And it really feels like Roman Kopylov is starting to get to the point where he could be a real contender. I don't know if that's the case, really. He's coming off a win against Chris Curtis, which is an amazing win by any means. But I think Roman's really good on the feet. I think he's underrated on the grappling. And I think he'll be able to pretty much beat Paulo Costa whenever he really needs to. Maybe we'll see Paulo Costa go back to his roots, make this a brawl, could find the chin of Roman, could make it to a gritty decision. But I'm going to go with what I've seen in his last couple, which is not that. And I'm going to go with Roman Kopylov to win by decision. Sadly, because I really do like Paulo Costa. I think he's very funny. And he used to be really fun. I'm not even 100% sure if this fight's going down. I'm hearing rumors that Paulo Costa pulled out. But if this does go through, I'm going Roman Kopylov. Next, we have Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. The main event. The main event of the evening. The trilogy between Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier. It's a big fight. It's not the biggest fight. It's a trilogy where Poirier won the first two. But what it is guaranteed fun. What I don't think it's going to be is as fun as the second fight. The second fight was very back and forth, very exciting. Both sides getting close to being knocked out and coming back. What I don't see in this fight, I don't see that happening as much in this fight. I see Max Holloway fighting a way more calculated game plan, like he did against Gaethje, where he's kind of on the outside, picking his shots a lot better, and playing a better, more rangy game. I see Poirier trying to capitalize going forward, like he did in the second fight. And I should really be picking Poirier because he's won the first two fights, right? But I don't think so. I think Max Holloway is going to get this one done. I think his more recent showings at lightweight, the one against Gaethje, has proven that the other instances of him going to lightweight weren't him committed to the lightweight division. He was like fat against Poirier in the second fight. It doesn't show me. I think it's hard for me to say, but I think Max Holloway in the Gaethje fight was a real lightweight. He was a real lightweight going into that fight with a ton of preparation and muscle put on. It does worry me that he went back down to featherweight for the Topuria matchup, got chinned, and now is going back up to lightweight, but he's been out for a while. The knockout, to me, a lot of people will say that's Max Chin's out the window. Max Chin's a lot worse than it was. Maybe it's cracked for good. To be honest, I think that's just Topuria. I think Topuria's that good at boxing. I think he's that crisp and that clean and being able to find shots. I think he's better. I think he's way more efficient of a knockout artist than anybody Max Holloway has fought before that. And I think he found it. Max Holloway's been rocked before. Ilya found it. And I don't think that's going to translate as Max's chin is just destroyed as time goes on. I really don't think so. I don't see Poirier being able to chin Max Holloway. I still don't see it happening. I just think Ilya Topuria is him. I think he's too much for these guys at any division. The lower divisions, obviously. But because of the Ilya Poirier performance against Oliveira, where he chinned Oliveira in the first round, if it makes me more confident that Max will be able to weather the storm against Dustin Poirier. If Ilya would have gotten beaten by Oliveira and his power didn't translate or didn't work at lightweight at all, I would be a little bit more worried for Max's chin. But since Topuria is that good, I'm not worried. I think Max Holloway will be able to weather the storm of Poirier, and I think the storm of Poirier has gotten a lot weaker as time has gone on. They haven't fought for a long time. Poirier has been in a lot of wars since then. His chin, if anybody's chin's a lot worse than it was when they first fought, I think it's Poirier's, definitely. Poirier's been through a lot of wars, and he's coming off a loss against Islam Makhachev by submission, where that was a battle in itself. Poirier, he's very good. I always seem to pick against him. I don't know why. I don't see him winning this fight. I don't see him being able to, at his age at this point, keep up with Max Holloway in the output. It's hard for me to say that because of the second fight. But I think time is going to really play a factor. Max Holloway's only 33 or 34. He's kind of still in his prime. That window, Poirier's out of it. He's gone. His hips are fucked. He's had like a double hip transplant or some shit. So his hip does not move correctly. He's still able to stuff takedowns against Islam, which is super impressive. But what worked for Poirier in the second fight, which I noticed when I rewatched it, was every single time Poirier was in like trouble on the feet, which he was multiple times, he would resort to grappling and it would be very successful. And now that he's older, more weathered, his hips are fucked, I don't think he's going to be able to grapple as efficiently. And I could honestly see Max getting him up against the cage and TKOing him. And I just see Max Holloway being a lot more intelligent in his game plan against Dustin Poirier. He's already lost to him twice. The second one was a brawl. The first one was his debut, so you can't really say much about that. But Holloway fought the perfect fight against Gaethje with muscle at lightweight, a real lightweight. He has a ton of time to prepare for this. He's known this fight was going to happen for a very long time. I think he's going to be very prepared, very ready, focused. I think his chin's going to hold up. And I think Poirier is going to has hit the wall in terms of his age. And I think he's going to start dwindling. And these wars you can only have so many fucking insane wars before your chin goes and your toughness starts to dwindle a bit. He didn't show that as much in the Islam fight. He was still very tough, very in there. I think Max is going to play this smart. I think he's going to go to the body a lot. I think he's going to start to weather Poirier a bit. I think he's going to be able to eat Poirier's shots. I think he's going to find similar situations where maybe Max is rocked for a second, maybe Poirier's rocked for a second. But I think the difference will be that Poirier won't be able to get out of those positions as easily because he won't have the grappling edge at this point in his career, I don't think, anymore. So I'm going to go with Max Holloway by either late rounds TKO, because I do think Poirier's chin is a lot more gone than it was back then. He's been TKO'd now a lot more than usual, I would say, in his career. I guess not, really. He got KO'd by Gaethje by head kick and then hasn't been KO'd since, so maybe not. I think age is catching up. I think Max age isn't playing as much of a factor yet. I trust Max Holloway to win this fight. He looked really good against Gaethje. Judging by last performances, he was looking really good against Ilia Topuria before he got chinned. If he plays a smart game plan, he can beat Poirier. Poirier's beatable, and Poirier's getting older. He's been out for a while. It just doesn't. There's a lot of pressure for the Louisiana thing. When the lights shine the brightest, it seems like Poirier can't really get it done. He's been in 3 title fights, hasn't won one. He's been in 4 title fights, counting the BMF title against Gaethje. Hasn't won one. He's going to another BMF title. I just think Dustin Poirier is allergic to titles, and I don't think he's going to be able to get it. The fact that Dustin Poirier is fighting for the BMF title again really discredits the BMF title, to be honest. Also, the fact that Max Holloway is the BMF after being chinned out cold doesn't make any sense to me. The BMF belt really doesn't mean anything. Ilia is the BMF champ, in my opinion. If you chin the BMF, I feel like you're the BMF now. I would understand if he wrestle-fucked Max to a boring, lame decision. Then Max should keep it, but Ilia knocked him out. I feel like that makes him the BMF. And Poirier already got knocked out by the Gaethje, who was the first BMF at lightweight. So this main event isn't the stakes for me aren't crazy, but it's still an awesome fight. It's still gonna be amazing. This pay-per-view is just a little bit sad to me, but those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. I will see you soon.